Whoever shall not remember to look back at their origin, hence, they cannot reach their destination. This applies the law of attraction and physics. Any multiplication of energy should observe always the origin. People don't observe this law in life, instead they are just preoccupied with thoughts for nothing and continue whatever they want. When we get old, at the time will come to us to return to the source that we are coming from, God. What is the ancient name of the Philippines? As with the other countries, has its Renaissance name. Example of that is in Iraq. His previous names are Babylon until it comes to another generation, then it's called Mesopotamia. This research is never taught in school nowadays. Perhaps almost of the subjects now is occupied with the latest sciences. Do you know that we Filipinos are part of the biblical history during the period of King Solomon in the Old Testament of the Holy Bible? The ancient name of the Philippines is Ophir. Ophir is found mainly in Tarshish, which is called now the whole Philippines, not to confuse. Ophir is the Luzon island of the Philippines when it is first discovered by the Portuguese, then finally the Spaniards, until they called it Ophir the whole Philippines. To unlock the secrets of the Spaniards in the voyage is to search mainly the land of Ophir. Indeed, because of its abundance of gold and other precious stones and metals as described by King Solomon in the Old Testament of the Holy Bible. To continue my blog, here are some of my findings. What the Spaniards believed. After the death of King Solomon, Ophir was abandoned and soon forgotten. After the passage of hundreds of years, nobody would know where or what is Ophir. The other word associated with Ophir is the word Tarshish. Nobody also knew what it meant. In old translations of the Bible, it was supposed also to be a place. However, in new translations of the Bible, it is used to refer to the fleet that went to Ophir. What happened to the Hebrew or Jewish settlements that were established process of the gold before they were shipped back to King Solomon? Nobody also knew. However, we knew that because of their religious beliefs, the Hebrews tend to survive as a separate enclave wherever they settled. Historical facts. In Spain there is a book called Colección General de Documentos Relativos a las Islas Filipinas. It is found in the Archivos de Indias de Sevilla. It was reprinted in 1920 in Barcelona, Spain by the Compañía General de Tabacos de Filipinas. Its Tomo 3, 1519-1522, pages 112-138, contains document number 98 describing how to locate the land of Ophir. This same volume also contains the official documents regarding the voyage of Ferdinand Magellan. It also contains the logbook of Francisco Albo, the chief pilot of the ship Victoria. This logbook is also one of the main references regarding the voyage of Ferdinand Magellan. Since this book contains important documents, we can discern that the Spaniards did not really believe that Ophir was in India. In fact, the Cabot expedition that left Spain on April 3, 1526 had a secret mission to search for a route to Tarsus, Ophir, Oriental Cathay, China, and Japan. Document number 98 describes how to locate the land of Ophir. The travel guide started from the Cape of Good Hope in Africa to India, to Burma, to Sumatra, to the Moluccas, to Borneo, to Sulu, to China, then finally Ophir. Ophir was in front of China towards the Sea of Many Islands where the Moluccans, Chinese, and Liquios met to trade. This group of islands could not be Japan because the Moluccans did not get there. It could not be Taiwan because it is not of many islands. Only the present-day Philippines could satisfy the description. Jewish settlements. Along the route described by document number 98 are locations of old Jewish settlements. It would not be surprising, for that was the procedure used by King Solomon's fleet. Settlements were established at selected places to trade and process gold and silver. The ships will collect the gold and silver and bring them to King Solomon. To the credit of the Hebrew people, their settlement remained true to the Jewish faith even for thousands of years. Settlements were found in India, Burma, Sumatra, and Vietnam, Annam and Cochin, China. Who were the Liquios? Spanish records mention a mysterious person known as Liquios. Modern historians variously identify them as Okinawans, Koreans, or Vietnamese. They were favorite targets of Spanish ships during the time of General Miguel López de Legazpi because the ships of the Liquios were always laden with gold and silver. According to documents 98, the Liquios were big, bearded, and white men. They were only interested in gold and silver when trading at Ophir. Okinawans, Koreans, and Vietnamese people are not big, nor are they white. Their beards are just small goatees and could not satisfy the word bearded. Therefore they were not the Liquios. So who could the Liquios be but the remnants of Hebrews and Phoenicians who have made some enclaves along the Southeast Asian shores? The Hebrew word likat or likkeh means to gather, to glean. It resembles closely the word Liquios. It will fit the men of King Solomon's fleet who gathered gold and silver. Note, the Hebrew alphabet has no small letters. Where was Ophir? There is no doubt that the group of islands in front of China towards the sea is the present-day Philippines. The question is, where was Ophir located in the Philippines? Ancient Chinese records say that the ancient trading places in the Philippines were Mai and Pulilu. Dr. Ali Bayer identified Mai as Mindoro. Dr. Jose Rizal Blumentritt Robertson and Stongel say that it was Luzon in part or in whole. Dr. Jose Rizal identified Pulilu as Bohol or Bohol. Nobody disputed Dr. Jose Rizal. So there are only 3 possible places in the Philippines that could be identified as Ophir. They are Luzon, Mindoro, and Bohol. Ophir. The ancient name of the islands of the Philippines. Only the descendants of Levites Datu Gerson, Datu Merari and few descendants of Datu Kohat reached the island of Ophir, but the high priest comes in the lineage of Aaron left in Jerusalem. People in the islands of Ophir speaks ancient Hebrew language. Who is Ophir? Ophir wrote in the Old Testament of the Bible 1 Kings 22:48, 9:28 and 22:49. Psalms 45:9, Isaiah 13:12, Job 22:24, 28:16, 1 Chron. 24-4, 1:23 Genesis 10:25-26. In Genesis 10:25-30 and Heber were born 2 sons, the name of one was Peleg, for his days was the earth divided and his brother's name was Joktan. And Joktan begat Almodad, and Shalef, and Azarmaveth and Yeh, and Hadoram, and Uzal, and Deklah, and Obal, and Abimael, and Sheba, and Ophir, and Havilah, and Yabab, all these were the sons of Joktan. And their dwelling was from Mesha, as thou goest unto Sephir a mount of the east. The language of Ophir. The language of Heber is the same language of Adam, and when the language was confused, only Heber retained the original language of Adam and was called Hebrew from Heber's name, and therefore the language of his 2 sons Peleg and Joktan will be Hebrew, and the language of Ophir the son of Joktan will be Hebrew also. The language of Abraham. Peleg's son is Ru, Ru's son is Serug, Serug's son is Nachor, Nachor's son is Ther had 3 sons Abram become Abraham Nahor, and Haran the father of Lot. Abraham is Hebrew in Genesis 14:13. Historians said about Ophir. The Western writers garlanded the Philippine land with more names such as Maniolas, Ophir, Islas del Oriente, Islas del Poniente, Archipelago de San Lazaro, Island of Mortars, Archipelago de Magallanes, and Archipelago de Legazpi. The Western writers and ocean navigators called the islands Ophir before the Western people arrived and renamed it Filipinos from the name of King Felipe of Spain. When the first European historians set their foot in the land of Ophir, it was written by historian Gregorio F. Said on page 2 and page 24 of History of the Filipino People, that Padre Chirino, an eminent Jesuit historian, found in Tagalog language that it has the mystery and obscurities of the Hebrew language. Therefore in the islands of Ophir, the people speak the ancient Hebrew language.